Hello my friends, today we have some of the interesting and I would say even awesome news. Just to look at this map, yeah, Ukraine gains the ground in Sumy Oblast. It seems like Russia totally lost initiative in Sumy. Moreover, they had to take their forces out from Sumy to reinforce the region of Pokrovsk. And now Ukraine is using the situation in its favor, pushing Russians out little by little. Ukraine doesn't need to rush here, absolutely not. Ukrainian army is not the Russian one with those crazy mid-wave attacks, no. Little by little, small operations, lots of the drones, aviation also Ukraine is using here. Supplies for the Russian army were cut even on the Russian territory. There was the supply breach across this river here, which Russia mined, and the Ukrainian drone operators just hit those mines, kaputting the breach completely. I don't know why Russia mines their breaches on their own territory like that, but Ukraine does those kabooms, I would say, regularly. Here we have this map from the MapTiler, so here Ukraine gained the ground in Novokonstantinovka and close to Konstantinovka, yeah, those are the names of the villages, but also there are attack attempts all along the front lines with limited success for Ukraine elsewhere, but you see multiple of the attack vectors. Usually Russia has this picture from their side, but here Ukraine has initiative and Russia tries to counterattack but not successfully or unsuccessfully. And we have the update on Deep State. It seems like we have it, yeah, yesterday and today. Wow, Ukraine even touches the border with Russia here with a gray area, yes, but still it's the successful operation of Ukraine. Awesome. And yes, I highly recommend to check out my Co73 analytic, also an analytic who analyzes videos coming from the front lines. He has multiple of the maps of the military conflicts around the world, but I use this one. This is the Ukrainian map. The credits for his page are in the video description just below under my video for you to check out. And we see that in Pokrovsk direction, Ukraine turned everything to the gray area. Yeah, Ukraine recently lost this vehicle. Yeah, you know, after all, Russia sent some of the reinforcements. This is taken from the Russian drone camera. And yes, Ukrainian vehicle got hit because Russia uses lots of the FPV drones. As well as Ukraine, so it is mutual, but Ukraine uses drones, I would say, more effectively. So despite this single vehicle loss in this area, and I would say that's the only vehicle loss since the start of this counterattack operation of Ukraine, which is ongoing already for a single month. The rest here in this area is just the success of Ukrainian counterattack. But as I mentioned to you many of the times, Russia is getting ready for offensive operation. I believe that they might strike the same place because their goal is to penetrate Ukrainian main defense line, which is ongoing in Zoloty Kolodets village. It also could happen in Konstantinovka, where, judging on those marks, the fight is really intense. But there are some of the directions which are concerning as for me. First of all, in Kupiansk, because Russia entered one more street over there yesterday and today. They are expanding with infantry forces because the tube operation, one more tube operation, was conducted, well, I would say quite well. However, we have some of the news showing that there could be some of the trouble for Russia with those tubes. Let's check out the video. Okay, this video was published today. You may see it's some sort of the razor wire. Yeah, definitely. It's inside the tube. Also, there is some sort of the bag, and allegedly, like the comments to the video say, that it is the Ukrainian countermeasure to block the way in for the Russian forces into Kupiansk. So Ukraine found out the way into the tube in the gray zone and put this razor wire out there. But still, you know, judging on this video, I cannot state that it is definitely like that by 100%. Sorry. The day before yesterday, I showed you the video that Russians managed to land not far away from Kupiansk, and now they intensify attacks on city itself. I'm not saying that this is hoax, I just don't have enough context to prove it. Well, nowadays the most profitable direction for Russia to take the ground is still Velika Novosilka direction, Komar direction, because there are several of the villages with the same name, Komar, Veliki Komar. So here Russia, unfortunately, for many days they move forward, taking substantial amount of the ground and moving to more villages. Here Ukraine is definitely so far unable to stop Russian offensive. That is happening already in Dnipropetrovsk region. Guys, I think it's just a new tradition, and then I start the videos from burning Russian refineries. Yeah, Ukraine did it once again. The last night, Ukraine hit the second biggest oil refinery in Russia. The facility is called Kirchi Refinery, and it is located in Leningrad Oblast, so not far away from St. Petersburg. This one has, or it's better to say had, absolutely huge capacity to produce lots of the fuel, which has been used for those populated regions, like, for example, St. Petersburg and surroundings. Well, it seems like not any longer, because by the time I'm recording this video, production of fuel has been stopped in this huge refinery. Again, for the strike, Ukraine used the long-range drones, and it deepens and deepens the fuel crisis in Russia. Well, my honest prediction, let's say, that Russia will after all find fuel for its army, cutting supplies for civilians, because the war is #1 priority for Putin. And yeah, it's the standard situation already in Russia. Either you don't have the fuel or you have it for a very, very high price, which has never been in Russia. But to disturb Russia in different way, Ukraine also hates Russian fuel trains. Well, those were full of diesel fuel, for example, and probably this train was going to the eastern side of Ukraine or to other occupied territory. By the way, Ukraine hit this train in Leningrad Oblast. For now, we are not sure about how it was done. I mean, the sabotage operation could be sabotage. I think that after all, there was some sort of the device planted on the railways, but I don't have for this hour proofs of what was done, but the result you may see on your screens. Definitely Russia lost the fuel train. And this is another train, also in Leningrad Oblast. One was kaputted in Gatchevsky Rayon, the other one in Lushkivsky Rayon. So two of the sabotage operations at the same exact time. So you may see the train is different, the locomotive is lying on the side. Well, it seems like this one was without any sort of the carriages, or carriages were disconnected and towed by the other locomotive. And yeah, breaking, we have this image posted. This is the refinery I was telling you at the beginning of the video. It's been geolocated, confirmed, and from what I see, this part was kaboomed right after this tower. Maybe right behind or a little further, I think a little further, but you see how big this refinery is, so Ukraine has to use lots of the drones to kaput it completely. But now operation stopped for maintenance. Well, those damages, I think Russia may repair quite fast, but Russia continued to lose their refineries little by little. Many of them were damaged. There were multiple of the strikes. I think that the record number is 8 strikes on a single Russian refinery in Volgograd Oblast. Well, it's just the beginning for this one. And just look how big this facility really is. It is huge, the second biggest in Russia. Crazy, yeah? Crazy scale. It was built in Soviet Union, but upgraded with Western-made technology after Soviet Union collapse. And now it's a big issue for Russia because delivering the spare parts for maintenance, it's the pain in the ass, but still they may do it. Just slower, you know, and occasionally, but they may do it. The third countries, they help it. Oh god, Russians started to complain about this one. Ukraine developed those huge FPV drones that may carry 3 of the shells, and just imagine the devastation it could bring. Also, as you may see, there is the coil for the fiber optic cable, so they cannot really intercept it. And I think that if this drone hits even the hunger tank, it's gonna be a huge hole that disables the tank at once, despite the armor it has. Wow, that's the power, that's the huge thing. It means that the large type of the drone technologies like Baba Yaga evolve into this absolutely gigantic FPV drone. And I'm sure that Russia doesn't have the stuff for now, because Ukraine has the access to some of the extra technologies, and still, yeah, the China parts are needed, but Russia is very limited. I would say that Chinese might make those kind of the drones kind of easily, but the problem lies with Russian military command. It's very volatile, it's very slow for those new technologies. Yeah, sometimes they figure out something like those fiber optic control drones. It was the Russians' idea, but in most of the cases, Ukraine is ahead in new developments. Alright, now what's about the situation with the joint military drills of Belarus and Russian army on territory of Belarus, Zapad 2025? So far, there are no huge provocations, I would say. Just yesterday I showed you the video with the Russian Iskanders deployed not far away. Like on this road, they were deployed very close to Poland, right? Also in Grodno, the Russian BMP-22 was spotted, but other than that, it's more or less calm so far. The military drills should be over in a few days, and we'll see if Russia might provoke Western countries once again with a possible drone attack or something else. So, by the way, today I had the warning that Russia is preparing for something. Activity for preparations to use strategic aviation was reported. So maybe today there will be one more swarm of drones launched on Ukraine together with cruise missiles and ballistics. That's why guys who live in those bordering Russia or Belarus or Ukraine countries, be alerted about the possible warning messages that you might already obtain before. For instance, yesterday in Romania there were warnings for locals. And by the way, today the defense minister of Romania confirmed that they just escorted Russian drones out of Romanian airspace back to Ukraine, not shutting it down. They say that the drone changed the direction, and that is how they just let the drone go back to Ukrainian airspace and maybe to hit something. As I said yesterday, thank you allies for your firm support and firm action against Russian drones. Guys, I'm so disappointed with this weak reaction from our NATO allies bordering Ukraine especially. Yeah, it's very, very bad. Alright, to some of the political news, and here in the article, the New York Times said what I said to you yesterday, that Trump will not impose more sanctions on Russia if NATO does. Basically, yesterday Donald Trump came out with demands to NATO, ultimatum you may say even. You impose the sanctions at first on China, India, you'll cut all of your contracts with Russia, and maybe after we're gonna join it. Here, Donald Trump tries to sneak away from responsibility for not being able to end the war that he promised to end in 24 hours. It is obviously kind of the childish behavior, and if we look at the list of the Trump's achievements since he became president at his second term, he has not yet achieved a thing. Yeah, this is an interesting picture. Trump's ultimatum for NATO. 100% agree with that. Yeah, CNN is legacy media. Well, I don't like legacy media in general, but here with this image, I agree 100%. It's like representation of what is happening in this head of orange idiot who is the leader of the biggest economy and biggest military in the world. Moreover, if you check out the statistics, then Donald Trump came to power, you might see the escalation of the Russian long-range strikes on Ukraine. So Russia uses more missiles and more drones. As many experts say, it could reach up to 1,000 drones per day during the winter time, and Russia is getting ready for those massive strikes. Plus, we have escalation against NATO countries, and Donald Trump, with his absolutely zero reaction on that, encourages Putin to escalate. Well, I would say that most of the things which are happening now are because of the inaction of Donald Trump and his absolute unhinged stupidity. Congress, with its majority, is ready to apply sanctions on Russia, Senate as well, but Donald Trump hesitates to put it even on review. Basically, he works in favor of Russia. I would definitely say that MAGA is the movement that wants to bury down America, United States of America, and works in interests of the foreign agents. Probably today I'm gonna record one more video on my another channel. You may check it out in the video description below, saying about the current situation out there in United States with their politicians, also businessmen like Elon Musk, and how they want to ruin their own country. I wonder if it is a fresh one, but really, it doesn't matter. Just listen to this orange idiot.
President Zelensky serve out his offer to purchase more Patriot missile batteries?
Oh, I don't know. He's always looking to purchase missiles. You know, he's against. Listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war. Right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size, and then hope that people give you some missiles.
I think it's the fresh one, judging on those declarations which appeared not long time ago, I would say. Here Trump mocks Zelensky for willing to obtain air defense missiles to defend people of Ukraine. And if MAGA, who is watching me, try to explain that it is normal, no, it is not normal. Especially when he says that Ukraine started the war against the country which is 20 times bigger than itself. Okay, so Ukraine started this war, I guess, according to Donald Trump. Guys, he's a freaking idiot, and I will say about it again and again in all of my videos. And then we speak about Donald, because I tell the things as they are. Now we have some of the interesting video from Crimea. Ukraine is using long-range drones to hit Russian air defense systems. Reportedly, this Buk M3 air defense was hit, but honestly, I don't think 100% that this information is truthful, because video cuts over here, and at the very last moment I see that probably drone flies way higher than the target, and it's just a zoomed in image. I know what I'm talking about because I'm a YouTuber myself, I edit videos. It is not that the drone approaching this target, and you may see it over here, yeah. So no. And the video cuts well early, to see the outcome. You see that the aiming is way higher. That's why again I'm speaking on my channel that those drones are somehow hard to control. I don't know whether those are the construction flows or latency of the signal itself, but definitely something is really odd in using those drones. Yes, there were multiple of the successful videos definitely shown before. I showed you those myself, but at the same time Ukraine missed targets also a lot. I know what I'm talking about again, and I hope Ukraine somehow will manage to improve the usage of those long-range drones. For now, it is good, but not perfect. My friends, if you want to support the job that I do here daily, please visit the link in the video description just below for my Patreon page. And thank you guys who support me over there, and also membership of the channel, because just with your help, I'm able to produce the content. Thank you very, very much for it. And my friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.